Yes, sir.
We've been talking about it. We were having those a win conversations all over again. And it was the conversation of just, man, I really hope they just get one, just blow somebody out. And then that 4-game stretch of Cleveland, New York, Cincinnati, and Jacksonville, you were hoping you were going to find one.
Yep.
And it looks like they did just that.
Maybe we didn't find just one. Hopefully we find at least one more in this little stretch, which would be nice. It might be asking for a lot. Eagles don't blow many teams out. I get that. But it would be nice for the whole, a couple winnable games coming up. If I were a betting man, I'd bet a tie on the Bengals game.
Yeah, that's what we always history do says, yeah.
But now, what do you think? It felt like a blowout, but it wasn't a blowout. Do you follow me on that?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the first thing I think. It's the Country 96 Birds recap.
I just thought of that.
By Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by our friends at Banko Beverage. Visit bankobeverage.com.
Yep.
I get what you're saying. You know what it is? I think it's the first quarter. They come out flat in the first quarter again.
Yeah.
But really dominated the final 3 quarters of the game on both sides of the ball, which was excellent to see. I kind of go back to there's 2 major things to me that stick out on defense in particular. One, coming off the bye week. I know that win against Cleveland wasn't what I think all of us really wanted.
Right.
I think we were thinking more of a Giants score than that 20-16 score that it was.
Yep.
But I think that bye week was a really nice reset for this team, not only to get back healthy and do all those things, but they've looked more prepared. They've protected the football. Defensively in particular, I'm calling the bye week and Cooper DeJean being a part of that defense now.
Yeah. I
think has made such an absolute difference on that side of the ball, like a night and day difference. And I'm not saying that it's just him, and I'm not trying to pin anything on Avonte Maddox, but I think Cooper is an upgrade, not only from a awareness standpoint, but a physicality standpoint. They ran a lot of zone against the Giants last week. Communication seems to be a big key, and the way that he can read and react, he can see, he can sit in a zone, get in his spot where to get in the way of receivers, but see a halfback swing out of the backfield, see the tight end come up short. He's been a sure tackler. I think those are the 2 biggest.
You just hit the nail
I've seen
when you said his tackling.
Yeah,
I haven't seen tackling like that consistently in a number of weeks and in quite some time watching the Eagles. But the way he will wrap, he will tackle. What do they call it? Textbook tackling. But you're right. I think that the defense, since the bye week, took a major step up. Now, before that, they had a great game against New Orleans, of course, but then there was that whole Tampa thing. So I think it's safe to say 3 out of 4 games, the last 4 games, the Eagles defense has really stepped up and shown what this team can do down the stretch.
And I think the biggest part for me, and the difference maybe between New Orleans and the last couple of games, was they basically dared Derek Carr to beat them in the New Orleans game. And they had scored a ton of points, and they were able to generate that Reed Blankenship pick at the end of the game, and enough turn, and the offense did enough to win in that game.
Yep.
These last 2 games have really felt like not just a good defensive game plan, but that you were the aggressor. And this game in particular, for both sides of the ball, to me, felt like the first time the Eagles in a very long time, it feels like we're the aggressive team on the offensive and defensive side of the ball.
I do agree with you. But on the defensive side, going back quickly, have we given up on turnovers and we just play solid defenses? It seems like it's very difficult for the Eagles defense to get a turnover for whatever reason. And I don't know what it is. They had one last week, called back. Course,
so they had one called back. Quinyon's had a couple. He had the one where he runs into CJGJ. He had the one right on the sideline that even if he caught it, I don't know if his feet are inbounds. They've had forced fumbles on sacks. Just the team that's got the ball has fallen back on it. So
true.
That it feels like turnovers are always a wave. It feels like they're always coming in waves, whether you're the one giving the ball up or you're the one getting the ball. So hopefully that wave is coming for the defense for sure.
And let's look at 2 games in a row. Jalen Hurts. Ball control, not throwing the ball where he just to throw it in the middle of coverage or anything like this. Jalen's had some pretty good games, and I think his final number is 10 of 14 on Sunday, or final attempts, 14 attempts, 10 completions. If he only has to throw the ball 14 times a game with a running back like he has in the running game, even the back, I think we had
Kenny Pickett.
Thank you. No. Barkley's backup.
Kenny Gainwell.
Thank you. Gainwell.
The other Kenny.
The other Kenny. He had 50 yards rushing.
Yeah.
I mean, to have your backup getting 50 yards on only a couple, I don't know how many carries he had, and to be able to keep Jalen not having to make the play, game after game, down after down. That's huge for them. So it's great.
He starts 0-5 against Cleveland, 0 for his first 5, and 16 of his last 20. So that puts him at 26 of his last 34.
Minus 4.
So
something like that. Yeah.
So and now that said, I think that's enough to beat New York and Cleveland and teams that, like, when you get to the playoffs, which is hopefully where they're going, and you're playing Detroit, where you're playing those teams that can score points in bunches. Yeah. Jalen's going to have a time where he's going to throw the ball 30 times and he's going to have to make plays. Those opportunities are going to come.
Yep.
But I'm hoping, it was a conversation that felt like we've been having for so long, is to lean on the running game. Don't get away from it. Really lean into it. I'm not expecting, I forget what their rushing total was in the game, over 200 yards for sure, but I'm not expecting 200 yards rushing every game. But that's not a bad benchmark to have right there.
You got that right. And just the fact that it was we Eagles only play 3 quarters of football. I think we've all agreed to that, right? There's only 3 quarters in an NFL game, or there's 3 quarters in an NFL. And just the fact that, like going back to, they didn't ease up on the run. They just kept it going.
Right.
They didn't say it's working, what you were saying. Okay, it's working now. Now we stop it. Now we have to throw the ball. I love this. Has to be probably one of the best coached offensive games we've seen this year.
Sure.
And don't give up on the run. It's working. Let's do what we got to do. And like you said, there's going to be times, man, when it's going to change. You're going to have to play in colder weather. I keep calling Hurts is going to have to, be able to play in cold weather and do what he has to do. But he's used to it for the most part with Philly. But yeah, we're not going to be able to rush the ball as much as we have in certain games. I get that. But this one was really something special.
I think what's also been nice is Jalen hasn't tried to take anything that a defense isn't giving him. So he got into bad habits of double coverage with throws and things of that nature. Even look, if they lose on 4th down on that play to AJ Brown, which ultimately becomes a touchdown, that's 1-on-1 with one of the best wide receivers in the game. There's probably a better, they always call those 50-50 balls when you just throw it up and try to make a catch. When it's AJ Brown against anyone, the odds are probably more in your favor than they're not, that he's going to be able to make a play on it. So I like that he's aggressive in that, okay, if you're going to give me this, I'm going to take it. We're still going to take those shots, even if I am only throwing 14 passes.
That's fine.
Flip side of that is if part of the conversation over the bye week was, man, we want you to be aggressive, but you have to know there's a safety hovering on this side of the field. You got to get eyes on him before you just decide to throw it down the field. And maybe that's a little bit more of the, hey, you can still eat, just you have to pick the right times to do it and not feel like you have to be almost the superhero back there making all the plays.
Are you concerned at all with Devontae's totals? 1 for -2. Does that?
No, because I don't think it bothers Devontae. Like,
it doesn't.
That's the wonderful thing about that. First of all, go back to the contract he signed. He was like 75 million, 80 million. Like, I'm getting mine. I'm going to get paid. I want to win. All that stuff. Just the ultimate team player.
He is.
Right there.
He is. Yep.
And so he'll find his. There will be games when he has his, and AJ will go, 4 for 24, but Devontae goes for 6 for 110 and a touchdown. Like,
you're right.
That's just the nature of it. Look, if you go back to Cleveland, they're going to load the box. They're going to play single high safety. You're going to get one-on-ones on the outside. Truth of the matter is, while Devontae's a shifty guy, if I'm a quarterback and I'm looking at these 2 good wide receivers, AJ Brown, you can't get a hold of him off the line of scrimmage. So if you're going to press him, there's probably a pretty good chance that he's going to win that sooner than Smitty is. And if there's a rush coming, a blitz coming with all those guys in the box, AJ's the throw to make.
That's right.
The one to
That's
make.
right.
And so Smitty will get his, no doubt about it. Goddard will get his, no doubt about it. But, if you can keep a balanced offense and start it with the run, it's again, the NFL today is a passing league. By the time you get into the playoffs, there's going to be a game where 30 points is going to be what you have to get to win that game.
Right.
That said, the influence of a ground game is so important in helping you set up the pass that it is imperative that the Eagles continue to try to focus on it.
I just read the Eagles injury report on the air, as I do every Friday. And before I see the reason they're out, I see the names and I saw Saquon Barkley on there. You've got to be kidding. He was out for rest. So with the game he had, I'll give you that. I'll give you that, buddy. You're good to go. But it's like, you look at that, it's like, no, not after the week you just had. I know, injury prone the past couple of years in Europe, but he's fine.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that out
A
there.
little R&R is good.
That's fine. I have no problem with that.
And so that transitions to the game against Cincinnati,
Yeah.
who kind of a really similar situation to what New York is going through up front. They're not a very strong defense. They've gotten better defensively the last couple of weeks.
They have
Injuries up front on the defensive line. There's an advantage that the Eagles could take in the running game. Now, they have the ability to rush the passer with Tyler Steen.
They do.
Probably going again for Mekhi Becton with that concussion. For Fred Johnson once again getting in there and playing at left tackle.
A couple weeks he'll be in, apparently.
Yeah, Mailata's still working that hamstring, so he's just starting to walk without crutches now. So between Fred and Steen, if you can get the ground game going and lean into it, we saw Fred did a really good job combo blocking, moving, doing all those things off the ball.
Sure.
Got a little exposed. But now, credit to him. It's not like he was going against a schlub. The Giants are able to sack the quarterback. They've been really good at that so far this season. But just to me, all the more reason why you lean into that run game in this game against Cincinnati.
Yeah, and you got to keep – I know they're struggling right now. Cincinnati's not as good as they were even a couple of years ago, but you still have a really good quarterback in Burrow. So if you keep him off the field as long as you possibly can and keep that running game going, keep that attack going, get that time of possession – you keep handing the ball off to Barkley, he's going to break one again, probably like you did last week. You give him, Merrill Reese said, you give him the ball over and over again, he's going to break one.
Sure.
So you keep that mentality and you keep it going. You keep that Bengals offense off the field as long as you can and take up that clock in Cincinnati. Get out of there with a tie. I'm just kidding, by the way. Get out of there.
It really is random because it's not like they play each other every 4 years.
Why
so
the ties?
Like
it's the weirdest thing out there.
One of those football anomalies for sure.
It is, but get out of there with a win.
So I'll ask you, because as exciting as the win was last week, the cautiously optimistic Philadelphia sports fan in me says they're going to get away from the run, right? They're going to try to throw the ball 35 times.
It's funny you say that because I hear myself at home saying, it worked so well last week. Why are we giving up on it? Yep.
Can we trust that Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore are going to make that the priority against Cincinnati on Sunday?
Can we trust that they will? No, I don't think we can trust that they will because it worked last week. Doesn't mean it's going to work this week. Cincinnati could be keying more on Barkley and more on the run game. So you're going to have to open it up a little bit. My thing is, I just don't want him to give up on it. If you have 2 or 3 or 4 attempts or even more than that where it's not working, don't give up on it.
Yeah. It's
going to open up. It's going to develop.
Yeah.
Will Barkley have close to 200 yards rushing? Chances are no. I mean, you have to look at it that way and say, you want him to have a really good game, but he had a great game last week. Just don't give up on the run. If I can say one thing, if it's not, look, first quarter doesn't count anyway. So, don't give up on it.
But it does count. Can we do something in the first quarter? It would be great if they did something in the first quarter.
Why is it not working? Are they not showing anything? Like what?
So there was, and I can't remember the source, so I almost don't want to say it. But also, in essence, there was a discussion that perhaps the Eagles are showing formations, but very vanilla in the plays because they're trying to see how defenses are going to line up in certain formations.
Okay.
Which I understand. Football is a chess match.
Sure it is.
But if you have to get your quarterback in a rhythm. You have to have plays that you feel like can attack weaknesses on the other side of the ball. There's, Andy, when he was here, always that first 15
script,
such a thing that's so important. And it just, I want to be the one to dictate to you what you need to do.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it the other way and being successful, great. There hasn't been success with it in the first quarter. I can't give up a quarter to bank on my next 3 quarters just being great, terrific, fundamental, mistake-free football. You can't do that.
Especially looking ahead. Let's just, I hate that term, look past, but let's just get past Cincinnati and past Jacksonville. You're going to start playing some more NFC East games. You can't play 3 quarters against the NFC East along with the rest of the NFL. But you can't play 3 quarters against Dallas and expect to win. Same with Washington. You can't do that. You have to play those 4 quarters of football, even if it means getting Jake Elliott involved, get a couple field goals in the
so
first,
that is a part of the equation. If you go
Yeah.
if you go back to some of these games, they've had opportunities. Atlanta in particular comes to mind. You had the opportunity to kick a field goal in the first quarter. Like those are things. And this feels like a game where Nick is going to say, okay, if we've got a good drive going, Cincinnati can score in bunches. I feel like I need to go for sevens more than threes.
Yep.
I can understand that. But yeah, it's not as though they're just sitting behind their 50-yard line every single game in the first quarter.
Yeah.
There is decision making in that process, but it just feels like certainly for a team that loves to defer,
they do.
The analytics suggest try to get the ball before the half, score before the half, and then basically get 2-for-1 possessions on the other side. It just has to feel nice if your defense can come off the field. And even if you do get 3, just something that kind of little golf clap at the end of it, just to give yourself a little bit of like, okay.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's shocking that the talent on this team that they can't even luck into like the ability to break tackles and AJ and Devon, like how they haven't just shook one. Is a fascinating thing.
You know what I want to go on to defense quickly. Let's give credit to the defensive line. Back-to-back games, 6, 7, 8 sacks for the defense, not the defensive line.
Yes.
The entire defense. So let's give some credit there. We were getting on them a little bit for the lack thereof pressure and lack of sacks early on in the season, but back-to-back games now, Cleveland and the New York Giants, but still, I think it's 14 total sacks in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's a huge number.
I think we come back to kind of coming off that bye week. I think Vic Fangio finally had an opportunity, whether it was physicality, communication. This week will be a big, I'm interested to know what they're going to do because you're going against T. Higgins. Jamar Chase leads the league in yards or catches. He's Jamar Chase.
Right.
Are you going to try to play man and try to get aggressive and try to get in Joe Burrow's lap? Are you going to sit in zone, which they had success with against Daniel Jones?
Yep.
Daniel Jones is not.
He's not Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
And
so Nakobe Dean, who had a great game against New York, being that rocket that he is, get down, read and react downhill. We've talked about that before. He's going to be put in space this game. And so that communication with Cooper DeJean, with the safeties, with Zach Bond, whoever's in there at the time, is just going to be really crucial. I think we're going to find out a lot of I don't want to say facade because again, that Tampa Bay game just lingers in my brain.
Yeah.
But are they closer to the defense we've seen the last couple of games? Are they the defense that we saw against Tampa Bay? Are they something in the middle? Are they a team in the middle? Because Cincinnati is a team that can score the same way that Tampa Bay did.
Right.
Are they better in a sense, but maybe not as good as they've looked the last couple of weeks?
Yeah. And Joe Burrow does have a quick release, with his targets out there. Joe Burrow's not going to sit in the pocket like Daniel Jones was sitting in the pocket. I mean, he's not really mobile, but he's not Daniel Jones.
Man, he ran that 41-yard touchdown against the Giants a couple weeks ago. What was that, Monday night or Sunday night game?
Yeah, he did. No, you're right. You're right.
Not known for his mobility, but if he has to reach back in his pocket and get he can.
It's there. Yep.
It's the Cat Country 96 Birds Recap. It is brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by Banko Beverage. Visit bankobeverage.com.
Yep.
Predictions, Sam. What are you thinking? Eagles in Cincinnati on Sunday.
I'm thinking a very, very close 33-30 game.
Ooh.
Yeah, I do. And I'm not sure who wins it yet. It's one of those. Cincinnati is home. They have a great kicker too that they use. The Bengals. Very good field goal.
They had Jake Elliott for a cup of coffee. He was practice squad with the Bengals when the Eagles picked him up on the road to the Super Bowl.
That's right. That's right. I think this is a tough one. This one's only because Cincinnati is a very good team. Nothing against the Eagles. I think the Eagles pull it out. I'll give it to. It's hard to pick against the Birds. So I say we win this one 33-30. Barkley has another killer game on the ground. I know.
That's a lot of points.
It is
to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's far-fetched. Just where I think the game goes, it's different because I think if the Eagles are running the football effectively and trying to keep Cincinnati off of the field, I think that takes some of the points off the board just because of the time. To your point, we keep joking about the ties. There's that history there. Just these games against Cincinnati are always
I don't understand.
Weird. Yeah. Like they're just go back to the vet and Irving Fryer and just Bengals games are always weird. I feel an uber aggressive Nick Sirianni in this game, like a random 2-point conversion when it's not even a factor into the game and stuff like that. one of those scoregami odd scores. Like I could see this being a 22-20 kind of game, 25-19, something silly like that. Just based on the momentum and the fact that they had the common opponents in the last two games. They both played Cleveland and New York the last two games.
Yeah.
It feels like the Eagles are rolling a little bit better, where maybe as Cincinnati are looking at them and you're kind of going, yeah, but then again, they lose to the Chiefs on a tough call. They lose to Baltimore, being up double digits for a good part of that huge chunk of that game, including in the fourth quarter. You know, they get a touchdown called back against the Patriots. They lose that game at home against maybe the worst team in football. Yep. So
you have to look at them. The record is not who they are. The Bengals.
The record is not who they are, but I don't know that they know exactly who they are just yet.
Makes sense
and
too.
So just maybe possibly being a little bit closer to who we think they are in Philadelphia, and the Jake Elliott revenge factor.
Yeah, I like that.
I'll take something weird. I'll take the Eagles 22-18. Something that doesn't make sense.
That does not, but
I'll
take
Cincinnati, and it's weird. And Jake puts one in late that ices it.
How many times do the broadcasters mention that the Eagles and Bengals have tied quite often through the years?
How many times does Donovan McNabb get mentioned in the I didn't know we can tie?
I say 3 to 4, 3 to 5.
If it's close, I'll say this. If it's close in the fourth quarter, you're going to hear it a ton, and there's a good chance it is close in the fourth quarter. Sky Country 96 Birds Recap. It is brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles. For Sam Malone, I'm Kevin Crockett. Go Birds. Get a win in the jungle, and we'll see you guys next week.
Don't forget, it's a 1 o'clock game. They moved it up.
Yes, and don't forget that Jacksonville's not a primetime game anymore. That's a 4 o'clock game.
Yes, we love that.
Yes, I was so excited.
So was I.
Morning show people rejoice. Have a good day, everybody.
See ya.